Hey chums, and welcome back to the Kenwood Kids Club. Now Easter is only a couple of weeks away, so I think it's finally time we can get stuck into some deliciously chocolatey projects, don't you? This week I'm going to be showing you how to make some absolutely scrummy chocolate cupcakes that you can decorate with your favourite Easter chocolates. What I love about this recipe is it doesn't have to be just for Easter cupcakes. This is a fairly simple chocolate cupcake recipe that you can use for all sorts of different celebrations. Just change the decoration to match your theme. I'm going to break this video down into a couple of parts. We'll start first of all by making our cupcakes, of course, and then I'll show you how to make a deliciously chocolatey double chocolate buttercream, and then of course we'll decorate them too. Before we get started, if it's your first time watching one of our videos right here in the Kenwood Kids Club on YouTube, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button, and if you haven't already, head over to the Kenwood Kids Club website, which you'll find at the link in the video description, to find the full written recipe and of course the list of ingredients that you'll need to bake along with me today. But if you've already done all of that, then I guess we can get cracking. Now, as I say, the first thing we're going to do today is bake up our batch of 12 chocolate cupcakes. To do that, I'm using my beloved K-Mix stand mixer, but of course if you don't have one, you can just use a bowl and a wooden spoon. They'll come out exactly the same. This just means I don't have to do all the hard work myself. You can also use an electric hand mixer if you have one of those. And if you don't forget you can enter our Star Baker of the Month competition to get your hands on one. Into the bowl of the stand mixer, I'm going to add in my butter, or baking spread if you prefer. And with that, I'm going to add in some caster sugar. Now I'm using white caster sugar today, but actually with a chocolate cake recipe, you can also use a golden caster sugar if you'd like a slightly richer flavour as well. And then I'm going to just use my paddle attachment today, so I'm going to pop that on and cream those together until they're nice and smooth. It shouldn't take more than about 2 to 3 minutes. While that's mixing, I'm going to crack 3 large eggs into a bowl. Giving them a little mix with a fork just to break up those yolks. And then I'm going to turn the mixer right down to the minimum speed and then just begin to add the egg mixture a little bit at a time. If it looks like your mixture is starting to curdle at all, which can happen, then you can just add a little bit of your flour, and that will help bring everything back together again. Then you can go in with the rest of your eggs and bring it all together. The last thing that needs to go in here are our dry ingredients, which in this recipe are some self-raising flour and some cocoa powder. And what I've done is sifted them together into this bowl so that I can add them all in one go together. Pop that lid back down and give it one final mix. Now as soon as you can't see those dry ingredients anymore, that's fine, you can turn off your mixer, and then all we're going to do is first of all scrape off this beater just to make sure that we haven't missed any ingredients at all. And then I'm going to give it a final quick mix by hand using my spatula just to make sure all of those ingredients are fully incorporated. The reason why we do it by hand is just to make sure that we're not over mixing that flour. I know I tell you this every time, but flour contains a protein called gluten. And when we make bread, we like to stretch that protein out and make it really, really strong so that it can give us a nice doughy bread. But for something soft and light, like cupcakes, we don't want to activate that protein at all, really. Otherwise, we can end up with really strong, doughy cupcakes, and that wouldn't be very yummy. When your mixture's looking like mine, So something hopefully like this. It's time to bring in our cupcake cases. As you can see, I've gone for some lovely pastel coloured ones because I think those sorts of colours make me think of Easter. But you don't have to use those, of course. You can use whatever cupcake cases you have lying around at home. And of course, this will come as no surprise to our regular viewers, but I'm also going to be using my trusty ice cream scoop to portion out my cupcake mix. The reason I like using this is it's usually a lot tidier. Watch me get really messy now. And it makes sure that I have exactly the same amount of cupcake mix inside every one of my cases. By the way, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but I'm using slightly deeper cupcake cases today, and those are in a muffin tin. I like using the deeper cases because it just means you get a little bit more cake, and I think the balance between the cake and the buttercream is better. But that's just my preference, and of course you can use, again, whatever you have at home. So to put my mixture into the cases, what I'll do is I'll use my ice cream scoop to take a scoop, tap it on the side to make sure it's nice and full, and then I'll just use a knife or a spatula to scrape off any excess, leaving me with the perfect amount of cupcake mix. That can then go straight in there, and because it has that mechanism, it all comes out really neatly. So we're going to do that again. Little tap, scrape off any excess, and then that goes into my cupcake case. And I'm just going to do that 10 more times. And then once you've done that, you should end up with 12 evenly filled cupcake cases ready to go into the oven. Now these need to go into a preheated oven at 180 degrees, which is 160 degrees fan, for around about 25 to 30 minutes. In my oven, these take about 27 minutes, but what I'll usually do after that 27 is just check, and so long as they're spongy to the touch and I can't hear them bubbling anymore, I'll know that they're ready to come out. Once they're cooked, take them out, and then as soon as you're able to, transfer them onto a cooling rack to cool completely. But we're not done, because while they're in the oven, we're going to make our double chocolate buttercream. So let me go and pop these in, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so my cupcakes are in the oven, and next up we are going to make a delicious double chocolate buttercream. It's double chocolate because it uses both cocoa powder and real melted chocolate to give it a really punchy chocolatey flavour. To start with though, it works just like any other basic buttercream recipe. We're going to cream together some butter until it's nice and light and pale, and then we're going to add some icing sugar. You want your butter to be at room temperature really, otherwise you might find it quite tricky to get it nice and loose. Once your butter is looking nice and pale and light like this, it's time to go in with, I always go to put it back on, but actually it's easier to add your icing sugar out here because I like to sift my icing sugar straight into the bowl. It means that I won't get any lumps in there at all. I'm going to add about half the icing sugar first of all. Watch out for clouds. And then I'm going to pop this back onto the stand mixer. Now you want to turn on your mixer on its lowest speed first of all, otherwise what can happen is your icing sugar will go whoosh and you'll end up covered. So I'm literally just going to turn on a tiny amount, and hopefully you'll see none of that icing sugar comes out. That's why this is my favourite mixer. Now we're going to mix this until I can't see any of that powdered sugar at all. It won't take very long at all, and actually once it started mixing, if you increase the speed slightly, it should literally take a few seconds, like that. And then this time, I'm going to grab my spatula, just scrape off any of this mix that's caught on the paddle, and then I can add in the rest of my icing sugar. And then just like we did before when we were making the cupcakes, I'm also going to add in my cocoa powder to the icing sugar at the same time so I can sift them in together. And then again, that goes back onto the mixer. Powder goes back on. And again, we're just going to mix it until we can't see any more of those powder dry ingredients. Again, it shouldn't take more than a few seconds. Hopefully you can see that cocoa powder has made that pale buttercream go into a really deep chocolatey brown colour now. And then the last things that we're going to add are some melted milk chocolate. And all I've done is pop this in the microwave for 30 seconds, gave it a stir, popped it back in for 15 seconds, gave it a stir, and then another 15 seconds and a final stir. And it's now lovely and runny, perfect for pouring in to my buttercream. I'm also going to add in 2 tablespoons of milk. Normally I would just use water, but because we're going for a kind of creamy chocolatey vibe with this one, that's why I'm using milk today. And then I'm going to give everything one final stir. And then after that, you should find you've got a beautifully smooth and velvety chocolate flavoured buttercream. So again, I'm just going to scrape off the spatula because I don't want to waste any of these ingredients. Give it a final mix by hand just to make sure that all those things are mixed in. And then, if I hold this over here, hopefully you can see, doesn't that look absolutely scrummy? Now I'm going to leave this in the bowl for now, while I wait for my cupcakes to finish baking and then cool down completely. And then I'm going to transfer it into a piping bag with a open star tip attached to it, but I'll show you that in a second. Better go and check on my cupcakes. So my cupcakes are baked, they have cooled down completely, and I've now got them sat here ready for decorating. So next up, I'm going to transfer my chocolate buttercream, or my double chocolate buttercream, into a piping bag. And as you can see, I fitted it with an open star tip. So what that means is that these sharp bits don't come together, they're open. And that's going to give me a really nice shape for my buttercream. So what I need to do now is transfer this mixture into that bag. If you find it tricky to do this, what you can do is pop your piping bag inside a large glass or a large mug that will hold it up and steady for you, and then you can just fill it up. I always mean to do that in these videos and then I forget. So I'm going to try and do it without making a lot of mess. Then I'm just going to squeeze all that mixture down to the end of the bag. You might want to get an adult to help you with that. And then I'm going to pipe what we call a rosette, which is the same type of piping I always do in these videos, onto the top. I think they're quite easy to do and they look really good. But to do that, we're just going to start in the middle, squeezing on the bag quite hard, and then draw a line around the outside like that. Start in the middle, and then around the outside. And hopefully, if I hold that more towards the camera, can you see it almost looks a bit like a flower? What's also great is it can look a bit like a nest as well for when we add our chocolate eggs on. Once you've done that, you should end up with 12 cupcakes that look like this. And now, of course, it's time for the best bit, adding the decorations. I'm going to be using some of everyone's favourite chocolate Easter egg sweets today. And I'm just going to pop them on the side so I can see them all. And then choose 3 different coloured ones for each cupcake. So on this first one, I might go yellow, white, and purple. I'm just going to arrange them right on the top, like that. So it looks a bit like they're sat in a nest. And then we'll do the same again on this one. And then keep going until they're all done. And there we go, those are my Easter cupcakes, a deliciously light and fluffy chocolate cupcake topped with a double chocolate buttercream, and then of course those all important chocolate eggs. I do hope you enjoyed watching along, and if you do fancy having a go at them yourself, don't forget you'll find the fully ingredient list down in the comments, but also a link to the Kenwood Kids Club website where you'll also find the full written out recipe as well. Now, normally in a video I would give these a taste, but actually I'm going to be using these ones as a gift for a friend of mine because these make an absolutely fantastic Easter gift, and I hope that some of you will consider having a go at them to gift to your friends and family this coming Easter weekend. Before you do give them away though, don't forget to take a photograph to share with us over on the Kenwood Kids Club website. Not just because we love to see what you're doing at home, but also you'll be entered into our competition to win our Star Baker of the Month for March. It is of course the end of March right now, which means we will be announcing the winner any day now, and who knows, it could be you. Meaning that you will scoop your very own Kenwood Kids Club goodie bag containing all sorts of amazing prizes like your own apron, spatula and even more besides. But you'll also get your very own Kenwood mixer as well, which is an insanely amazing prize. As I said at the start, if it is your first time watching one of our videos in the Kenwood Kids Club, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you go. And why not give this video a like as well so that we know you're there. And make sure to tune back in at the same time next week when I will be sharing another Easter recipe that you can create to share with your family and friends over the Easter period. Until then, as always, do take care and of course, happy baking.